Hey everyone, Tristan back with another video, and in this video I wanted to talk about the Chord Hugo2 versus the HugoTT versus the Mojo. I have heard both of them, or I've heard all of them, actually at the Can Jam Southern California show, I think back in April. I probably overstayed my welcome at the Chord booth and listened to the Hugo2 for probably 45 minutes or something like that, pretty intently. As many of you know, I own both the Chord Mojo as well as the HugoTT, and I've gotten like 5 questions in my channel, at least 5, asking, will I be getting the Hugo2 and comparing it to both the Mojo and the HugoTT? And so I figured I'd address that here in kind of a live discussion, because the video will also turn into a video in my channel later for people who want to refer to it later. So rather than record a video for it, I figured I would just do a live discussion on it. So anyway, let's talk about that. The Chord Hugo2, which was just recently released and announced, versus both the HugoTT and the Mojo. In listening to the Hugo2, personally, I'll just come right out and tell you, I did not find the sound to be better than the HugoTT. Although it has more taps, that's pretty much all it has, whereas the HugoTT really does have a lot of advantages over the Hugo2. And I just made a list here, I'll read some of those advantages. The first one would be Galvanic Isolation on the USB. So that provides a cleaner signal and stops the RF noise within the source from creating like a noise floor modulation within the electronics and the output. It also prevents signal correlated and distorted ground currents from corrupting the small signal distortion, from creating small signal distortion, and it gives you sound quality benefits for smoother and warmer sound quality with better instrument separation and focus, and better soundstage depth. The other thing the HugoTT has over the Hugo2 is a beefed up output stage. So better output stage, increased power on the increased bias current and power on the output. And that means that with lower impedance headphones, it will be the amplifier will be in Class A for more time, making it sound smoother. So that's the beefed up power supply. It also has the supercapacitors as well. So that reduces the power supply impedance and also provides better transmission of transients in the audio signal. And it just has better overall increased reference circuitry. So lower impedance and noise overall. And this actually can help reduce the total harmonic distortion as well. Again, this is all with the HugoTT versus the Hugo2. And then, of course, the chassis is a better chassis, more beefy chassis, heavier chassis. That also can contribute to audio quality. It also has balanced outputs, whereas the Hugo2 does not. And so those are all like the sort of things that the TT has over the two. Also, the form factor obviously is different. The HugoTT is more of a tabletop device, obviously, because that's why they call it the TT. But also, the form factor of the Hugo2 is, to me, not really 100% suitable for me, because I have the Mojo, and to me the Mojo is a really good form factor to take with you places. It's really small, can fit in a pocket, whereas the Hugo2 is a bit bigger, can't really fit in a pocket. It's still sort of transportable, but it's more for like your laptop bag, briefcase, backpack, something like that. And I guess it could be used as a desktop unit, like on your desktop computer at home, if you want to. Although, it doesn't have all those benefits that the HugoTT has. I think if I could only afford one device, like one Chord DAC / amp, the Hugo2 might be the one, if I could only afford one. But since I have the HugoTT as well as the Mojo, I don't think the Hugo2 is something that I would necessarily rush out and purchase. And going back to my listening test of the Hugo2, let me talk about kind of like what I heard when I listened to the Hugo2. The first thing that I heard with it was, in terms of comparing it to the HugoTT, is that the Hugo2 sounded a little bit more brittle to me. Not as, for lack of a better word, euphonic, not as warm. You know, maybe as resolving, but just a little bit more on the thin, brittle side to me. Even though it has like the 4 presets, 4 different sound kind of profile presets, it still didn't have that sort of more analog sound that I really enjoy with the HugoTT. Granted, I was at a showroom floor environment, and the real test for me is to actually get the product into my home and listen to it, you know, at home, because it's really difficult to gear the actual sound totally accurately in a show floor environment. But like I said, I did try to, and I did spend as much time as I could with the Hugo2 at the Chord booth. Now, it did to me sound better than the Mojo, although the Mojo is certainly no slouch. For a small little portable device, I think the Mojo sounds you know, really insanely good, especially for the price of only, what, like $600 or whatever it costs. So that was really pretty cool in terms of that. So yeah, it remains to be seen whether I get the Hugo2. I certainly would like to get it in for a review and do a comparison at home with it, you know, between my TT and the Mojo. But again, it's not something that I'm rushing out and buying for the reasons that I have stated. So yeah, that's the main summary of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good step. Probably definitely an upgrade. I haven't heard the Hugo, the original Hugo, by the way. So I do probably think that it's a good step up from the original Hugo. But on a lot of the forums, people were saying the Mojo actually sounds better than the Hugo, even though it's cheaper and smaller. So, you know, that's something to consider as well. And I think the main takeaway is that it's not just all about taps, even though the Hugo2 has a lot more taps than either the Mojo or the HugoTT. There are some benefits in terms of the topology and the architecture of the HugoTT that really make the TT still, in my opinion, a cut above the Hugo2 in terms of the overall sound output and, you know, what it's capable of. So yeah, just wanted to do that and do that video and record this live. As always, if you have any questions or comments and for community and discussion, please go ahead and leave them below. And certainly if I get the HugoTT in for, I mean, I keep saying the Hugo, I keep misstating it. If I get the Hugo2 in for review, I will certainly be doing a video on that. I actually would like to get it in and really listen to it very intently for at least maybe 2 weeks or something like that. But my initial impressions of it certainly is that it does not compare to the HugoTT. And in fact, my HugoTT, in my opinion, actually sounds better than the Dave, believe it or not. The Dave, yes, certainly sounds more resolving, but to me the TT sounds more like euphonic, a little bit warmer, a little bit more analog sounding. And that's just me, in my opinion, in my ears. So certainly the Dave is more technically capable, certainly a lot better DAC, but in terms of the euphonics and the overall sort of sound signature, believe it or not, I prefer the TT over the Dave. So thanks for watching this video, and see you in my next video. Take care.